Welcome back to W.P.M with Max, aka Wolf Pussy Monologues podcast. Get ready for some shit and shenanigans from the CEO of the Unicorn Division, our leader of the Wolfden Pack, the maniac behind the mic, the one and only Max. Broadcasting internationally from our lovely private studio in the city of Los Angeles. We thank each of our listeners around the globe for joining the shit show, and we sincerely hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Hey, yo, what up, what it is? How you feeling, how you living, where y'all been? Welcome to another episode of W.P.M with Max podcast. I'm your host, Max. As always, it's a pleasure to be back on the mic one more time with all my Wolfpack friends. Hope you had a great week. Hope you're feeling all right. Hope you got all that shit you need to make that dinner taste good and right. All of that there. Yes. Did y'all know that they have Black Friday on the calendar as a fucking holiday? What the fuck? Am I the only person that didn't know this? That's a holiday? Really? For real? Can you feel the goddamn knife just going in and just turning? Like, okay, so you used to just do it behind my back. Now you do it in my face. And people celebrate the shit. Crazy. I don't even buy shit on Black Friday no more. I don't give a fuck what's on sale. I don't give a fuck. Because guess what? Amazon got Prime days. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be that price on Prime. And even if it's not. Okay, what we talking about? $5, $8? Because you motherfuckers keep running out here in these streets every year. It's almost like this is a tradition for you motherfuckers. Every year, you run your asses out there, you know, you go to this shit more often than you go to work, more consistently anyway. You run your ass out there and go get this fucking TV, take up half your damn wall. You barely got the right fucking studs in the wall to get the shit up there in the first damn place. And lo and behold, you think you got a deal on this shit and you got the lowest spec TV model that you could get for that type of TV. So now your eyes is hurting and shit because you can barely fucking stand how the fucking TV show and shit. So then by the time Black Friday come back around again, you need to replace that low spec ass TV they had on a super sale. Come on and get it. It's only $101 for 5,000 inches. Yeah. But you got 5p. Ain't even 1080, ain't even 720. You got 5p on that motherfucker. I'm just saying, shit, stop the madness. Traditions, y'all, traditions and the real meaning of them. Thanksgiving edition, because, you know, we get festive in the Wolf Den. We talk it, walk it like we talk it. You know what I'm saying? It's that season. Look in. All I smell is bay leaves and pork up and down the damn street. You know, the leaves is changing. The air getting cold. It's getting darker earlier and whatnot. You know, yep, it's Thanksgiving time. But let's pause for a second. We know, you know what I'm saying, Thanksgiving is a holiday for family, food, and togetherness. But where do these traditions come from? And who paid the price for the stories we tell around this damn table every fucking year? You know, I'm just curious. So today we're going to break it down, the traditions of Thanksgiving and the real meaning behind them. Because not everything on the table or in the fucking story is as sweet as that pumpkin pie. Okay? I prefer sweet potato personally, but some of y'all like pumpkin. Okay. I don't judge. We all got assholes. That's all I got to say. Boom, moving on. So last week, we talked about the truth behind Thanksgiving, right? And it's pretty much the same type of thing, just the real story versus what we're told, you know what I'm saying? Pilgrims, Native Americans sitting together, meal in peace, yada, yada, yada. Truth, wasn't unity, colonization, people died, displaced, stripped of land, exposed to diseases, wiped out whole communities, the whole yada, yada, yada. We talked about that last week, okay? Every year, while many of us celebrate Thanksgiving, indigenous communities across the country hold something different. The National Day of Mourning. We talked about that last week. Since 1970, the indigenous people have gathered in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the very place where we're taught the first Thanksgiving happened, to honor the ancestors, to protect, what I'm saying, their historical truths, and to protest the lies. And to remind us that this holiday is not the same for everybody. Everybody is not running to get that sale. Talked about this last week. So we're going to reiterate that there's pain behind the truth of Thanksgiving. So with that being said, we're going to just have to reiterate it. We're going to dip dive into the food traditions. Let's talk about the plate, because Thanksgiving ain't shit without the food. Okay, we got your turkey, we got your stuffing, cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie, to be exact. Those are the official staples. You know what I'm saying? But did you know that a lot of that shit wasn't even at the first Thanksgiving? Goddamn it! You know what I'm saying? That what was there was foods indigenous people had been cultivating for centuries: corn, beans, squash, wild rice, cranberries. Those foods, known as the Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash, weren't just the ingredients, they were survival. Native people taught colonists how to grow them, how to live off the land. That knowledge literally kept the settlers alive. And yet the same motherfuckers were pushed off their land. Yes, we're going to keep reiterating that. We're going to talk about Thanksgiving. We cannot talk about Thanksgiving without talking about the period. Today, in modern times, each family table looks different. You know, some households you might see mac and cheese, collard greens, sweet potato pie. In native households, you'll see shit like fry bread and venison. Caribbean homes, rice and peas, jerk turkey, plantains. That's the beauty of tradition. The food tells the story of who you are and where you come from. The question is, do we know the story of the land where the food grows? Yeah, the family rituals. Let's dig into that. Every family has their thing, you know? Some go around the table saying what they're thankful for. Some motherfuckers fight over who carved the turkey. Some watch the Macy's parade or football religiously. Some break out the spades or dominoes after dinner. Okay? Whatever your preference is for your family. But here's where it gets real. Rituals aren't just about family, they're about identity. They say this is how we do it. They anchor us. But think about indigenous families on this land. Their traditions were disrupted, intentionally erased through boarding schools, forced assimilation, and stolen children. Yet, despite all of that, Native communities kept passing down their songs, their foods, their prayers. That's what you call resilience. That's tradition at its strongest point. Yes, it is. So while we laugh at our own family quirks, and they do matter, let us also respect the families who had to fight to keep any tradition whatsoever alive. Let's talk about the pressures of traditions. Like, they can be beautiful, but traditions can also weigh heavy on the motherfucker. You know, how many of y'all force yourself to get on a plane or a train or drive long distance home or to your roots because it's Thanksgiving? Even if it costs you your peace. How many of y'all sit at tables where you just don't even feel safe just because that's what the family does, that's what we're doing? Yeah. Tradition is powerful, but it can also trap a motherfucker. And if we being 100, and that's what we do in the Wolf Den, indigenous people know this shit firsthand. America's tradition is to tell a pretty story, even when the truth is ugly. So we've got to ask, are we honoring tradition or just repeating it? You can make your own. You're alive for a certain amount of years. I feel like if you do something in consistency for at least 5 years or more, you have a new tradition. There it is, just that fast. Move on to gratitude versus myth. I'm just going to speak briefly on it because we talked about this last week. But if we can give thanks for the food on our table, we can also give thanks to the indigenous people who gave us the knowledge of this land. If we can thank God for family, we can also acknowledge the families who were torn apart to build this country. The myth says Thanksgiving was unity. The truth says it was survival. Gratitude, true gratitude, would mean not ignoring that fact. Okay? Let's redefine tradition. How do we redefine tradition? Maybe your family starts the meal with a land acknowledgement. Recognize the indigenous nation whose land you're on. Maybe you take a moment of silence for those who lost their homes and lives during colonization. Maybe you donate. Maybe you volunteer or support the businesses. Tradition doesn't have to be frozen in time, ladies and gentlemen. It can grow. It can adapt. It can tell the truth. And maybe that's the most powerful tradition of all. Turning something that's rooted in pain into something rooted in respect and love. Wolfden family. This Thanksgiving, I want you to look beyond the food and the table. Look at the history. Look at the rituals. Look at the meaning. Tradition isn't about repeating myths. It's about creating moments that matter. It's about honoring the people who came before us, the truth they carry, and the future we're building now. Okay? Thanks for rocking with me to the end of this episode. Again, I'm your host, Max. Please tune in next week. We have Mo coming out the Wolf Den next week for our last round of November. Time to go. Yes, time to go. We're going to dip dive into our time to go and how we feel about that shit. Y'all stay safe, stay out the way, stay out them streets. Remain humble, stay thankful, stay safe. Love, peace, and hair grease. W.P.M with Mags. Out.